Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love that alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no, it's an ever-fixed mark. It looks on tempests and is not shaken. To start every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. I'm not time's fool. No rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out, even to the edge of doom. If this be error, and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. The Sonnet 116 by William Shakespeare. And the reading there is a fairly straightforward confirmation of the steadfastness of love. Most people read the poem that way. They read the poem as being an idea that love is strong and outlasts time, and that the love of true hearts meets together, and that people who really love one another can look on tempests and chaos, and they can get through anything. And most people, when they read it, they read it as though this is something that transcends even death. The confirmation of which is the very end. Well, if it's wrong that love is unchanging, then Shakespeare, this fella, never wrote anything. And no one has ever really loved. That's how most people read it. But I was first clued into the idea that that's not perhaps what Shakespeare intended from the scene in Sense and Sensibility, where Marianne Dashwood has this poem read to her by Willoughby, who is the masher. He's the girl catcher. He's a player, a man about town. And he carries with him wherever he goes a copy of Shakespeare's sonnets. Ooh, just in case. Why would he carry a copy of Shakespeare's sonnets? Possibly because he was romantic, and possibly because he was filled with the love of the poet. But when you look at his character, it is also possible he does so because he knows that girls especially like a guy who appears to be sensitive. Willoughby is a masher. He's a player. He plays women. That is, he dupes them into thinking that he is the best thing in the world. And one of the ways he does so is by reading to them poetry. What better way into a woman's heart than poetry? And he reads to Marianne what he says is my favorite sonnet. Sonnet 116. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediment. Love is not love that alters when an alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Marianne, who loves poetry too and has this earnestness for poetry, wants a steadfast love. And she thinks that Willoughby, because he loves this poem, must therefore have a steadfast love. And she gives her whole heart to him. It's unclear whether she gives her body to him or not. I mean, probably not, given Jane Austen. But she definitely gives her whole heart to him. When he proves untrue, it takes her a long time to get over it. She's almost ruined. She almost dies. And Willoughby goes on to other brighter pastures, so to speak. He's not constant. He's not true. And part of what Jane Austen is saying is that this sonnet, the misunderstanding of it, is pivotal to that story of betrayal and that story of inconstancy. That indicates that the poet is thinking of something different than what that first romantic read might imply. To preface another reading of this, everybody desires a love that is permanent. We all desire a love that lasts. And consequently, we read into the poem that which we want to see there. But it's kind of like reading into Scripture. It's what we want to see there in Christ, or what we want to see in God. Frequently, what we want is not what the poet intends, or even what the poem says. Sonnet 116 professes a constant love, a love that doesn't change. When you go to look at a sonnet, you scan the poem. You look at the structure of the poem. And the structure of the poem will give an indication of what the poem means. The basic structure of a Shakespearean sonnet has a rhyme scheme, that is, the end words rhyme with each other. That is A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. What that means is that in this poem, minds rhymes with finds, and love rhymes with remove, because that's how these are pronounced, remove. Second set of 4 lines, mark rhymes with bark, and shaken rhymes with taken, and then cheeks rhymes with weeks, and comb rhymes with dome, and proved rhymes with looped. So you have similar sounding words rhyming. You have I ams in an English sonnet, da-da, 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 da-da. That is an unstressed and a stressed syllable. You have 5 of them. That's the common structure. And when you look at the bulk of Shakespeare's poems, almost all of them are iambic pentameter. They start da-da, 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 and they continue da-da, 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 da-da. And he's very, very careful in making sure that his words fit this ba-da, 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 ba-da structure. Consequently, if the structure changes, the poet does it with intent. And one of the first things we notice in this poem, which is divided into quatrain, 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 and couplet, the first thing we notice in this poem is if we try to say the opening line as it ought to be, that is, I am, I am, I am, I am, and I am, I am, we get, let me, not to, the marriage of, drew minds, which doesn't sound natural. It's not natural at all. In fact, if we say it correctly, it's let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Okay? Let me, emphasis on emphasis, not, emphasis, to the marriage, unemphasized, on, of true minds, on, em. In other words, you don't get the normal iambic structure. You get a structure which is altering the structure. You get something which is changing the normal course of the structure. Well, that's an odd thing, and it indicates that the poet is automatically, in the structure of the poem, embedding something which is off. It's odd, it's strange, it throws one for a loop. And where you would expect a constant structure, you get a structure that is not constant at all. Well, then you get into the imagery of the poem. And the imagery then begins to show us that there are problems throughout the poem, impediments throughout the poem. There are problems that rise when one tries to talk about the poem as a upfront and honest statement about the constancy of love. For instance, he says, let me not to the marriage of true minds. Marriage is taken a number of ways. There is a denotation and a connotation to the word. The denotation of the word is that a union, a joining together. Okay? But that's the exact literal meaning. And so it could be a marriage of 2 ideas, or it could be a marriage of two principles, or it could be a marriage of 2 people joining together. But a connotation of that word, marriage, is a marriage between a man and a woman. In a marriage between a man and a woman, there is one thing that is undeniably a fact of the marriage. That is, that they are marrying in body to each other, and that their bodies will join together in the marriage covenant. In other words, the conjugal bliss involves physical interaction. What he's suggesting in the opening line is, let me not the marriage of true minds. Where marriage shows corporal, physical, carnal interaction, the next thing he suggests is not true hearts, but true minds. The mind as a disembodied unit, something that is airy and lofty and vague. He's saying, let me not to the marriage, the union of these true disembodied peoples, admit impediments.